Hello, everyone. I hope you remember our topic. Yeah, hi, Advik, Pawn Patrol, Happy Pawn, Sarthak, and so on. Fixing pawns, exactly. This is the last session, I promise. Yeah, I promise. We will not do any more. Just last time we got very thrilled by this endgame now, the Petrosian versus Banik endgame. And this was one of the positions that we were discussing. So just for fun, anyone, what was Black's plan here? Let's see if I can remember it myself. I think I can kind of remember it, yeah. Let's see, don't write in the chat, don't destroy the fun. Something like this maybe. All right, I'll give you 30 seconds. Nice. So Hollowblade and Young Jal and Brian, Chessort. Those of you who played Rook A4 on move 2, I suppose I go B3. No, I don't see, unless you're provoking some weakness on my queen side, I don't understand exactly why you would play like that. But it's not a big crime, of course. We can ask Hollow, who was fastest. Please go ahead, Hollow. Yeah, you didn't miss too much, Freya. We just started. So Rook A4, Rook A8, sorry, hitting the pawn. If I go A3, then you can definitely play Rook A4. You win the pawn. That's why I had to play King B1, right? And here we said that one interesting plan was to play Rook A5 and B5, try to open up some space for the Rook and so on. Yeah, in this case, we would have good drawing chances with Black, even though we are sitting with like the bad bishop, you would say. But it's not so easy for White to progress here, we were saying, right? And at the same time, we were also saying that Rook D8. Yeah, what would happen here? Anyone? What would happen here? Like more or less. Trade, definitely Sarthak. Aha, they would trade. And we were saying that White would press, exactly. Can anyone remember more or less what was White's plan here? Aha. Thanks everyone who is focusing on this. White's king is activated. Aha, Rohan. Those of you who have a private conversation like Freya and I don't know who else. Yeah, you could do that somewhere else, right? That's a matter of good education. You can catch up with your personal lives and so on in some other situation, but not here. All right? Good knight versus bad bishop. Exactly. Bring in the king. Pawn Patrol says the king comes to E4. The knight came to F5 and so on. That's what we were looking at last time. But I think I have the feeling that we didn't really finish looking at this. So let's see if we could just... no, I don't know if there is private chat. I could do private chat, but then if somebody says something interesting, the rest won't share it, no? They won't share it with the rest. So it's like a weapon with double-edged, no? Double-edged weapon, the public chat. It can be good and it can be bad. Yeah. Anyway, so coming back again to this game, which I think is so interesting. We were talking about, I think, this position. We were saying that White would get something like this, based on what we just looked at. And in this case, we finally noticed. Does anyone remember what was the plan? The plan for White here, more or less. What were we trying to do? Aha, something like that. That we send the knight over and try to create the B5 cannot be easily arranged as long as the pawn is touched, right? Oh, you said A4. Yeah, if A4, you need to have the knight on D3. I think we said something like Advik says, send the knight over and try to create a new weakness. And at the same time, we were saying that if Black had managed to get this position with the pawn on A7 still, then it wasn't that bad for them. That's what we were saying last time. And what we, I think, did, the last thing we did yesterday, we were looking at this other example, where Black would have like the same kind of situation, but Black would actually make a draw here. But it was very tricky. And I think where we stopped last time, it was here. We were saying that even this difficult position, it was possible to hold it. So I don't know. Does anyone remember what was Black's supposedly best move here? We said that if we play passively, Somebody showed this, right? Like Brian, maybe it was. Aha, you have to play a5, exactly. Does anyone remember? I can quiz you, of course, in this position. What was the best move for white here? Wait for me one moment and we will do it very quickly. Let's see if I can get it right. There was a pretty Zugzwang idea here. Yeah, I know we did this last time, so we shouldn't kill ourselves doing it again. I find it hard to understand the move a5, all those of you who played a5. Why would you remove the option of knight a5? That's surprising that you would play like that. And I would play bishop e8, let's say. How would you win from that position? Only Brian remembered this. I think you were the one, Brian, who showed it last time. John Sam also remembered. All right. Perfect. Those of you who said a5, I understand you want to put me in Zugzwang, but you just took a square from your knight. I thought I could go back with the bishop. Oh, I wasn't here. Yeah, if you weren't here, then it's difficult, of course. So we were saying that it was hard for white to progress here. Like, you can jump, but what are you going to do after that? So what did John Sam say? Please, John Sam, you'll show us. This was tricky. Oh, I copied the chat. Yeah, don't do that, Chessart. Aha. h6. Why do we play that? Because somehow we have the knight dominating the bishop, right? We're waiting for the bishop to give up one of these two squares. Or conversely, if they move the king, you would simply play, and then you can get Zugzwang again, right? Yeah, how was the final story here? I think Brian was showing all this. I don't remember anymore. How did we win this? 96. That was the way to win it? It was maybe. Yeah, I can't really remember. We can look now. I think it was something like that. I would have to try to create the passed pawn on that side. Aha. I think this works now, or no? Also, the h-pawn is very tricky, trading, queening a bishop now. I think white is clearly winning, right? You can always, if c5, you can take and just go back, right? Yeah, nice handle promotion, says Tricky Windmill. So I think this was the answer. And h6, the paradoxical move, right? We're fixing on the wrong color, you would say. But okay, this is a different story. We're only doing it to give up a tempo. All right, so bishop d8, the bishop moved away. We can enter. This was black's last chance, and then we got the new Zugzwang here, right? I know this was a tricky line to remember, but anyway, that's how we're learning, right? Something like this. Yeah, impressive play by Brian and John Sam, who remembered all this. There you go. I think this was the only move. Crucial spare tempo, no? The one you have here. If you didn't have that, it would be difficult to progress. And we said again that the bishop is busy controlling these squares. And yeah, how did the variation continue here? King e7, I think we looked at. And let's see John Sam's memory. Do you remember all this, or should we ask Ryan instead? King e7, now we should sacrifice a pawn, right, John Sam? Do you remember this? Then it's no problem. King f5, exactly. We enter with the king because we have seen that on the next move we can make this pawn touch. We can touch this pawn, right? If the king goes that way, we will of course take the pawn and so on. And if c5, even if now black is a pawn up, they're still in big trouble. All the time we have this color thinking, right? We always think in terms of the color. Well, almost always. There you go again. I'm boring you with this story, but there you go again. Again, we somehow fix the pawns on the right color. Yeah. And then we're ready to run. And yeah, was there some last detail here to be considered? Yeah, don't get nervous. Who is moving? John Sam. John Sam, you must be tired by now. Take pawn, says Sarthak. Yeah, maybe. I guess you could also go back. I think this is better, actually, what John Sam is saying. It looks more technical to play something like that. Yeah. Safer now to play in this way. I don't know. Should I continue in this direction? I think the h-pawn will win the game, right? For white. Wrong variation, they say. But I think you're on the right track. Who is moving here? John Sam. Yeah. Poor John Sam, you must be tired, but I think you're doing a great job so far. We just have to calculate the tactics here. Did it get more complex, or it's my impression that it got a little more complex? I think I understand your point. You're gonna hit the pawn without, yeah. But if I can do this later, maybe. I don't know. Have you planned for that? Like if I play the f5 here and e4, and it goes beyond my calculation abilities. But I would think that black is okay here. Should we go back, maybe? I hope you're not falling asleep looking at this. Maybe we can go back a little, or no? Okay, I get no feedback from anyone. I think around here, this looks like a good position to pick our move. Rohan says knight takes f6 instead. I see. What did we play last time? Knight e2, knight e4. So Rohan says we should just take on f6 here. And when I play c3, you're just taking that pawn, right, I guess? And then you're winning with your passed pawn. I guess that's your point, Rohan. You want to take the pawn, or do you have something smarter you can do, like block the pawn or something? You're just taking, But I don't feel like it's completely winning. I could go with the king in this direction, maybe. And I send my bishop like that. Are you winning this? Really? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I play something like this, for instance. Is white really winning? Or black is winning? No, I don't know. I don't say anything. My goal is just to make a draw here with black, I thought. But maybe I should change my goal and try to win instead. Interesting. But I can, let's say if my tactics betray me here, or I can play, let's say, king here and king f5, and I take and I go back. Did I lose this game? Looks tricky to me, this game. But maybe I'm under some pressure. Yeah, why not block instead of knight c3? I think so too, Sarthak. He waits for the king. Yeah, wait a little. We will come back here. So this is, I think, was what you were saying. Why not block like that instead? We can block like this maybe and take the pawn. But it still got more complex than I thought it would, right? Let's go back a little. Let's go back a little to this position. So I think it was possible to play b5 instantly also. I think there is some kind of flexibility gain from this, or there is not. Yeah, I don't know. Knight here. This was the right plan, it seems. I'm checking my notes. This was the right move. And then we do the plan that you said. Who said this? It was, yeah, somebody said this, right? And now we bring the knight over. Why? Question, why have the king on d5 when we do the knight maneuver to e4? To stop c4, exactly, Freya. I think this is the difference. In the other line, we were killing ourselves trying to understand these lines like that, right? We played knight e4, but then black could play c4, and they got counterplay. Maybe a computer would say that white is winning, but it's tricky now. But if we have the king on d5 when doing so, it will take them much more time, right? Because the king is holding up the pawn. So anyway, this is what happens if black plays in a passive way. But some of you already said what was the right move. So who remembers what was the right move? Please come again to invite one of you to look at this. Steve, all right, Steve, you were fastest. Please, Steve, show us quickly what was the right move here. We should go for activity. We play a5 instead. All right. What happened after that? White. What we looked at last time was this line. Yeah, that's where we finished last time. We looked into this very complex line with pawn takes. And does anyone remember, just for fun? Anyone remembers what was the right move here? Many of you remember. It's a very eye-catching move, right? And we didn't have that many choices. It's important for us not to trade the c-pawn for white's b-pawn for white c-pawn, sorry. Not leaving them with a outside passed pawn on the a file, right? We had many winners, yeah. Dragon Ninja, Yugoslavian, Nicole, Dada Apple, Owen, Shooting Stars, Brian, and so on. IS 318. Okay, IS 318. What was your move? I'll choose you next time, Chess Crusher. I already picked IS 318. Exactly. What a beautiful move. We should certainly not do this because then white has an outside passed pawn. But we play this impressive move b5, and after 8 takes b5, we just make it to a draw here, right? We just trade off the pawns. Right, IS? We're waiting. Yeah, exactly. And you can take this pawn later, or I play some move like that, but I'm not progressing here, I think, in this position. It's still a little tricky now, but I don't see what if you just move the bishop. I'm not queening here, right? I'm far away from queening, and maybe you can run with your own pawn also. Exactly. I think that works. Yeah. Don't take here, I think, because then there is knight b7, and white seems to be winning a pawn. So this was the right move, b5, and if I take instead, this was important. We didn't even see this last time. That's why I'm bringing it up now. I later on I noticed that we never talked about this. Yeah. Oh, this one is simple, by the way. Sorry, you could just take with the king, but I think you could take with the bishop also, right? If you don't want white's king to invade, but you don't care, right? The pawn is just running. Yeah, but it's funny that you could also play something like this if you wanted to. But I don't know if you would like to do that now. Maybe not. Maybe it's better to just be simple and take like that and start pushing the pawn. So, yeah, nice. So that was the way in which what we also looked at last time was that b6 was not the same thing, but it was that incredible variation. Anyone remembers the incredible variation? Yeah, it's quiet today. Everybody's well behaved, or there is some internet problem over there. Yeah, this is what we looked at, I think, last time. This was the crazy variation that we had to turn on the engine to understand this. Yeah, I could not see this. Who remembers white's move here? Anyone? Very quickly. I will have to do this like in 10 seconds. Oh, I got the move already. Dumb, you said the move. Very good. How do you say? Sorry. What happened here? I'm somehow blind. Yeah, 98, exactly. 98. Very beautiful, and we are playing a6. I cannot play this because you would have 96. So, yeah, fantastic call, Steve. You're right in that. So this is what could have happened in the game. What we were looking at was this position, and we said that black would be okay here if they play this move a5. Here or one move later, but you had to play a5. But you had to see this whole sequence also. This was the other line. Yeah, this was the boring line. And white could apparently not progress from here. This would be a draw. So anyway, now it's high time to come back and finish off this game, Petrosyan's famous game. So let's come back. Sorry guys if this took a long time, but we are about to finish it now. So we had, let's see where we were. We were around here, right? A little earlier. No. Yeah, so we were, why did all this start? This talk started because we were checking this option, right? And we were saying that Petrosyan would have loved to trade off the 4 rooks, but it was not possible because, as we said at the beginning today, black would trade 1 pair of rooks, but they would not trade the second pair of rook. Like we said, the rook would go in that direction and try to create counterplay. So interestingly, he did not take on b6. He played b3 instead. And then what is famous about this game is what happened next, because here black played rook d8, and here Petrosyan played. Here comes Petrosyan's, what can you say, great discovery now about who should stay and who should go. By the way, I think this is our next topic. Now we will look at this next time. Yeah, he did not play g4 at this point. Maybe black would play knight d7 then. I'm not sure if this is what he wanted to avoid. But I can see your plan, of course, to send a knight to f5. It depends a little on which endgame you want. Yeah, what would we think about this? Can I do the same thing, by the way? Could I try the same? Bishop c5. That would be similar to the game, by the way. I'm thinking if I could also send my knight to e6. Is that possible? Like, but I don't want you to take. I would have to play like this first and then check you and send a knight in this direction. Does this make any sense at all, or it makes no sense? Please, anyone, give your opinion. I don't want to play bishop c5 because I know what happened in the game. That's why I'm saying this. But I'm hoping I can put my knight on e6 and look at these squares. Maybe, no? Maybe this could have been the reason. So he played a very strange move here at first sight. What about c5 now? Yeah, I don't know. Coming back to our variation, where are we? This is what we looked at, right? Like that. Yeah, you go c5, I go knight e6. How will you defend the pawn now, Petrol? You can't defend it, I think. Or you wanted to play something like that, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Knight e6, and I would have to play, I guess, rook f8, and you would play knight e4. I know what I would like to play with black here, but I won't say. I would like someone else to tell me. Which move do you like for black here? Exactly, Rohan. You and me were on the same frequency. Rook d5. We saw this in the other game, the Kamsky game. Kamsky versus Rager, right? We saw this idea. This looks like a smart move, no? Rook d5 too. We probably don't hit the pawn, but it's just a little annoying, no? Nutmeg, says Santos. Okay, interesting way to put it. Yeah, white has some difficulties improving here, hopefully, in this case. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Something to analyze here. Rook takes, pawn takes, knight c3. Okay, in that case, Dash, I will probably take on c5. I think I have improved compared to the game, Dash. I think I have improved. Wait until you see the game and then we can talk about it. I know you can. Oh, king c6 says Brian. That's probably even better. Oh, of course. Sorry. This is way better. Yeah, now you're under pressure probably in this case. So let's jump to the game so we can see other things also. He played a very strange move. Anyone knows Petrosyan's famous move here? Petrosyan's famous. Yeah, exactly. Happy Pawn knew it. This is exactly what he played. Rohan also knew it. Steve knew it. Bishop c5. So the game became famous because of this move. Yeah. Why did he play it? Exactly. Who should stay and who should go? Shereshevsky looks at this endgame. Now you can check it in Shereshevsky's book now about endgames. He talks about this. Can anyone say with words? With words. Why trade the bishop instead of the... No, we keep the knight in any case, Happy Pawn. Why would you like to leave them with the knight instead of the bishop compared to what we spend 100 moves on analyzing bishop takes b6? Why would you trade off the bishop instead? Aha, you're right, Santos. The bishop is a key defender, as they say. Bad bishop defending good pawns and so on. So that's why he played it. And you know what? It's funny. In this position, how should black take back? Well, you could take back with the pawn, but here this was actually okay. Here it was better to take with the king. So I looked a little at this also. No problem. Great that you celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival. Yeah, you trade off the bishop because you want to attack the pawns. Exactly. This is the same story as we looked at. I looked a little at this, and this was one of the variations. Yeah, looks like something we already looked at. But here you can see it's very hard for white to progress. Even better version of the previous endgame that we looked at now. Knight versus bishop endgame. Right? It's almost the same, but it's even better. So Petrosyan, he did the right thing. I looked a little at this, but it was not easy to find a way to win in this position with white, even if it looks nice for white and so on. This looks like it's the optimal pawn structure. So he played bishop c5 to weaken this pawn. And the reason also why I wanted to show this game, because at this point comes the move which is linked to our topic. Everybody, I'll give you only 15 seconds because we have been doing this for like 1 month now. So, okay, good work by everyone here. Pawn Patrol, Yugoslavian, Young Jal, Santos, Happy Pawn, Advik, John Sam, Dash, Dumb, Chessart, Shooting Stars, Princess, Grilled Cheese, Lily, Crusher, Dada Apple, Mehmet, Brian, Flawless, Nicole, Dolphin, Pop Fisher, Pawn Patrol, Tricky, Awesome, Owen, IS, and Steve. Okay, Chess Crusher, you wanted to show, right? Chess Crusher was first on the list. Raise your hand, please, Chess Crusher. I can't see you here if you're around. Else, I'm happy to pick someone else. All right, Chess Crusher, show us, please. It's a beautiful move. I think it took Petrosyan also like 10 seconds to find it in the game. Just for fun, if white plays h6, anyone, what would you play with the black pieces here? I'll give you only 10 seconds this time. just to see if we understand the topic. Don't. Oh, you could play that also. Oh, sorry then, everyone who said that. I didn't see that move. I'm very sorry. That's probably a good move also. I played like Mehmet and Nicole and Chessort and Dolphin and Can King Sam and Bob Fisher, Freya. Okay, Mehmet, show us your move. Then we can debate about which one was best. Yeah, I didn't see that at all. I played that exactly. Honestly, I didn't see that this attacked the pawn. I just put it in my notes, G4. So this would stop this plan. But those of you who said F5, I think it's perfectly fine also. I have not looked at it. Yeah, I don't have any tactics, right? Like knight F7. You probably go back with the rook and nothing happens now. I don't know. Maybe you're slightly more shaky, no? And you think it's more natural? I disagree. But it's a personal question, Steve. For me, this move is more natural. That's the move I see at 3 o'clock in the morning or so. F5 requires a little more calculation, no? In this case. But anyway, yeah, coming back to the question, if I play like this, if you play rook e6 and rook h1, slightly unpleasant now, maybe. I don't know if you can go with the rook to h2 instead, maybe, but it became a little more complex now this way. But it looks okay for black, right? If you play like that, or what do you guys think? Does white have anything here? Yeah, I don't think so. This looks okay for black. So okay, both moves are fine. In either case, no way this will happen in the game because Petrosyan, of course, played g4. And then the game drags on, and basically what he did in this game, he invaded with his 3 pieces. Yeah, we can check very quickly. He took his time. He wanted to attack the pawn, but black is defending it. But at some point, this I think is the important moment. Yeah, important moment. Important moment when we feel we can't really progress. What do we do, anyone? When you feel that you can't progress, you offer a draw. No, you don't do that, right? Bring the king. Yeah, but you can't bring the king anymore. Prophylactic move. Perfect. You could play some prophylactic move. By the way, look how he never plays h6. He keeps this in the pocket all the time because he knows, of course, that if black goes h6, he will have an extra possibility. Pawn break, maybe. I have in my endgame book, I have a chapter called Opening Up a New Front. So this is, I think, what you can do. Improve and wait until mistake. Okay, that's a good piece of advice in general, no? But yeah, he opened up a new front. How can you open up a new front? Not so difficult. Anyone? Squeezing. Yeah, but you need to put moves to it. Exactly. Santos. Yeah, somebody finally is talking concretely here. Rohan, happy pawn, and so on. He played a3. So what's the plan here with a3? Why are you playing a3? If black just waits, let's say I play king e7, what's going to happen next? Aha, b4 to open file. So 2 things. Exactly. 2 things are arranged by b4. 1, we open up a file either on the a file or on the b file. And secondly, we get a chance to play c5. Please have a look at black's rook. It's not in his best place today, right? A knight would have been better. If these 2 guys could change place, maybe, the knight and the rook, I don't know if that would be better. Maybe, no? Yeah, then he would play knight e4, you would say. Anyway, yeah, just joking. But this is what happened in the game. He played a3. And poor Banik, he had to play this move, which makes me cry, c5. But he didn't see any other way of stopping b4. And yeah, rest in peace. Now it's hopeless. So now the great invasion started. So Petrosyan starts working on the light squares. It seems every piece will touch d5 at least once in this game. Yeah, this was a complete nightmare. It took him a little longer time than expected, maybe. But he went on to win this game. Yeah, many turns in this game. There was something simpler also. He was probably enjoying this position. But this last part is nice now. The last part is nice. When he finally invades because he knows that the knight endgame is... The pawn endgame is won, right? Yeah, there was a faster way, Flawless Fighter. Let me see if I can find it. There was a faster way. When was that? It was when he played around here, I think. Yeah, I mean, I can ask you guys, if you saw what happened in the game, what plan comes natural here? I'm just curious. What other plan can you think of? King d5. Yeah, if you go king d5, I guess I have to play king d7, right? And then I don't know exactly what you're doing. Yeah, nothing happens now. But with so many weaknesses. Yeah, h6, you always have it in the pocket. Okay, you want to play like knight c7? But I can maybe ignore you when you do that, right? Blitz came knight e6. Yeah, king e7, I guess. The thing is that what he did in the game was excellent. I'll give you a hint. He ended up like this in the game. Okay, he ended up like this. How can you end up like that a little earlier here? Let's see if I can come back. Yeah, okay, Santos, you will show us. Let's bring up Santos, who said this first, I think. So please go ahead, Santos. You can see how quickly he could have won this game. But this was like move 36. Yeah, move 36 in the game. You know what that means in the good old time, right? They would adjourn and things like that. They wouldn't, exactly. They didn't want to commit at that stage of the game. But this was winning very quickly, I think. You can just play like in the game, Santos. There is no way to go wrong, I think. Exactly, so that they can't play knight c7. So I don't know. What do you want me to say? What should I play with black here? The king is coming. Yeah, I can play king e7, waiting for king d5 to go king d7. So you would discuss with your second or by the way, Flawless, doing some chess history. Fischer had no second, right? He would discuss it with himself, which could be enough. I'm coming back probably in this case. But when you have a weakness like this, Santos, you can also, Lombardi maybe, yeah. Larsen, I think, also at some stage. Yeah, Brian is right. Yeah, you can play knight c3, be this big threat. I mean, this is not a difficult variation, right? If the knight goes here, it's touching both pawns. So it's difficult for black to defend. And if I play like that, we end up in that infamous pawn endgame that, makes you cry. Now, ultimately, we understand why c5 was such a bad move. But it was hard anyway to defend. Aha, a4, and you have so many waiting moves, so it's over. Yeah, you could even have one extra tempo. So, okay, guys, I think we understood this game, but it was very interesting in many aspects. No, one aspect here, of course, this move, to remember the move g4. And if you remember when we talked about the opening, we said that Petrosyan played in a very, what would you say, modern fashion. Now, anyone remembers after 97, what did the great Tigran Petrosyan play in this position? This could have been, I don't know, Abdou Sator or Vincent Kamer or anyone who would play this move, right? Just as this was back in 1950 or something like that. Aha, everybody got this right. Happy Pawn, you're one of the winners. What did you play here, Happy Pawn? What was your move? Aha, he didn't want to trade. He waited for information from black. So if h6, Happy Pawn, what might have been his idea here? This was already a collapse for black, we said, right? I hope you remember, Happy Pawn, what happened next. The inclusion of these two moves turned out to have an enormous impact on the game. So it's not so much about fixing pawns as about fixing weaknesses now. Because now you would like to play... Aha, the tactics came up here, right? Exactly. We can play h5, and after black plays g5, if they want to keep the pawn structure intact, we kill them with... Aha, that's right, bishop h3. And it's game over now because they can't stop this plan. So that's what we were saying, that the move h4, it was good on strategical grounds, but also it was very good on tactical grounds, right? To play a move like that. And this kind of idea, you can see it in many openings, no? Where you don't retreat the bishop. I don't know, like in the French defense, I think there is one line in the French which goes like, does it go like something like this? Let's see, something like this. Is it this line or it's... I think I got it wrong. It's not like that though. Like, yeah, I don't remember anymore. Well, when did this happen? Yeah, I got it wrong. Something like this, and when they play 95, you play h4. But it can't be here. Yeah, somewhere else it was. Sorry, guys, to confuse you with this. I can't remember when it was. It was in some other line, though, when the bishop is on f6. Yeah, but the bishop is still there. I think I got it. Yeah, I didn't get it. It must have been in some other line. Maybe like this, and you play... Wow, I can't remember this anymore. Yeah, pity I cannot remember it. But it must be basically something like this, and the bishop comes here. No, it didn't work out. Oh, that's another line. Yeah, Flawless. Okay, let's do your line instead. Yeah, thanks. You're saving me, Flawless. That's a better example. Yeah, bishop g5, and then... I didn't think of that one, but that's a good case, of course. And you play h4 here. So anyway, we can come back to that some other day about how we can, instead of moving a bishop, we can defend it. You could do it with black pieces in the Bogo Indian also, if you like, or in the Catalan, you could do it, right, like that, and you could play a5. But okay, that's a different story. Let's continue. Let's take our next example. Let's take something with more pieces, okay? Something with a little more material on the board. In this game, we are playing with the white pieces, and Dominguez just played bishop d7. You have to play now with the white pieces. I will ask you only for one move. New example, finally. Aha, we had many winners. Dumb, Google, Flawless, Chessort, Rohan, John Sam, Tricky, Freya, Yugoslavian, Brian, Santos, Dolphin, Hollow Blade, Dash, Owen, Happy Pawn, Chess Crusher. Yeah, many winners. Maybe it's easier also because you know the topic, right? It's not that difficult. Aha. Okay, please. I was going to take some names. Somebody who never saw Dolphin. All right, Dolphin, you're on. You're actually in front of me here, so not difficult to bring you up. Please, Dolphin. What did he play? No calculation required. Every guy he played a5. Aha. What is gained from a5? What is gained by a5? Anyone? Fix the B pawn. Not only that, right? Fixing also the disconnecting the C pawn. That's a better way of putting it. This is the pawn we're actually fixing as a weakness. You could, of course, also attack the B pawn later, like if you could play rook b1 and b4 or something like that. But for black, the biggest problem here is that they can't keep the chain connected, all the pawns. So yeah, we can check very quickly what happened in the game. They played rook e8. Would you trade or keep? Trade or keep? Aha, good point, Flawless. Yeah, in the accelerated dragon. Some want to keep, some want to trade. Okay. Can anyone give me an argument. Okay. An argument. If you want to trade, tell me why. If you want to keep, tell me why. You can be right or wrong, but you need to have some kind of idea. Exchange for the time factor. Which time factor? Like if you take now, let's say I take with the, would I take with the bishop or with the knight? I wanted to put my knight on d6, but maybe you're hitting my pawn in that case. You want to play like bishop somewhere and send a knight. That's very unpleasant now. Yeah, like who said this? Somebody said this. Try to attack the b7 weakness. Yeah, exactly, Santos. That's what I would think also. He did that in the game. But okay, let us check this again. I really wanted to take. Should I take like that then? I think I'll have to take like that. Yeah, because in that case, if you, well, I don't know. You have this square also. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you play bishop f5 here. Anyone who understands this endgame? I want to bring my king as soon as I can. I don't know if I can do it now. Maybe 97, and I send my king. Yeah, I don't really understand it. Yeah, you play 93, I go king f8, I suppose. Or is this very unpleasant? I didn't think of this. Oh, maybe this is annoying. Oh, g6 is better. Sorry, I didn't see that. You could just play g6 instead. But I need my king up. Right. You wanted to take and send a knight to attack. Did I do something wrong here with my piece configuration or something? I played this. Oh, I understand. If bishop here, we can maybe go back with the bishop, right? That's probably smarter. Now, who should stay and who should go? There we are again. Maybe black should keep their two knights, no? Or no? And now I bring up the king. This is what I would like to do with black. Not that I love to play like this, but it's... you can't play g6 there, I think, in that position. Or what am I missing? This looks like bad news for black, right? So that's why I was saying that we will play bishop d7. One thing we can agree about is that it's easier to bring up the king if the rooks are gone, right? And the other thing is that you can't, I mean, you can try to break with b4, but you don't have a rook there. Yeah, maybe holdable, yeah. That's what I would think also, but definitely unpleasant. So what did Erigaisi do? Well, he said, I'll keep the rook, but he put it on d1. I guess it's some tactical consideration, right? I don't know what happened if he played. This would be too simple For sure, Dominguez had some plan here, like g5. And can you play like bishop f5 or no? Or maybe not. This is probably, no, it doesn't work, right? Rook e3 maybe. You think he was thinking about something like that? Or no? Not sure. Which method? 91 maybe. Aha. Maybe he didn't want to calculate this, Regaisi. Maybe he thought black could counterplay or something. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea. But it looks kind of promising for white, I think, this line. The king can go up, right? And then we try to play b4. Looks unpleasant for black in this case. But I guess he would have to go back, and when b4 comes, you would have to take, and you put your bishop somewhere. But it looks dangerous now, these two passers and so on. Yeah, the bathtub. Yeah, here we are again, right? The famous bathtub, the usual suspect now, always the bathtub. So I don't know. The game it's very nice, but it's not that interesting in the sense that black has no chance in this game. You can see how the game continued. It's not that hard to understand the moves here. So he got to bring up the king, but something happened with black's piece coordination. No, something happened with the piece coordination with the bishop or something. Not sure exactly how it happened, but next he will put the knight on d3, and it will be very hard to defend this pawn. So I don't know. Yeah, we will come back to this. Wait for me just one moment. I just wanted to bring up this position, and here I would like to ask you, how do you think that Erigaisi continued? I thought this was very beautiful. I'll ask you for just two moves, okay? I think that's okay also, Yugoslavian and Brian. Erigaisi did not play that, but it can't be wrong, right? You play c5 on the next move. Yeah, I have no idea. They played like Sarthak and Chessart and Kugel and IS and Pop Fischer were saying. But if you played bishop e3 on move 2, it's fine also. Knight f2, he was going to play f5, Pump Patrol, Steve, Young Jal, Dash, and Flawless. That's for the only thing I can say with certainty here is that if you play this, Dominguez will reply f5, because that's why he played knight g8, I think, because he wanted to push this pawn. He knew that this was coming, right, and he would lose a pawn. So you don't need to be a psychologist to understand that f5 was probably coming. No? But I think it's still okay to play like that. Maybe you could play like knight f2, and then you would try to play g4 or something like that. Maybe, no, softening up the square for the knight could work also. So I think that's okay also. Many ways lead to Rome here, but the way that Sarthak and Chessart and Kugel, Pop Fischer, Happy Pawn, and IS played, I think that was the simplest one. So, okay, Kugel, you can... Oh, what happened here? Chess Crusher. No, you're always down. Kugel, please go ahead. b4, black has to take, and now he played very pleasant move to play king d4, ready to play c5. But he could have played also bishop e3, as some of you were saying, and then play c5. In any case, you see what I mean. The game is basically over here because strategically white has such a big advantage. All right, the game, he didn't even play c5. He took on b4 first. Yeah, hopeless game hopeless game for white, for black. I thought it was very aesthetic, the whole game. I don't know what you guys think, but I like it. I like it. White's piece domination and so on. So, yeah, nice game. Yeah, interesting point, Santos. You could have played like that. Coming back to this initial position. So, he played bishop d7, right? Dominguez. If I flip the ball, does anyone have any other ideas? Aha, hollow blade, maybe. Just crusher and so on. If you play that, b5 is an interesting move, but you lose a pawn, right? It's not like Benko Gambit time, I think. If you play b6, I'm considering maybe a5 anyway, right? b6, I could go a5 to, like Brian said, disconnect the c-pawn. I think the other way to play is better, like Hollow and Crusher and Sarthak and Nicole, Brian, Dolphin, and that Apple said. All right, Nicole, what was your move? What did Nicole play? So if you play like that, you freeze the pawn structure, right? Now we can play b6 next turn, and hopefully we can bring a knight to d6. Those of you who played b5, I think it's too much, no? I will take this pawn, and after all, it's a passed pawn and so on. If you played b6, I would be a little afraid of a5. But I'm not sure if it's so dangerous. My point was that I could go with the rook and try to take and hit this pawn. But okay, maybe you can play b5 maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, rook b8 though. Yeah, I don't know if this is what happens here, but I already managed to fix one pawn. It's some progress for me, right? I don't know if I don't go for this line, I would move my bishop somewhere, and yeah, I don't know, like here, and try to play knight e3 and attack the pawn. Bishop c2 maybe, yeah, something like rook e7 is another candidate. But I think a5 was the best move. So I have a last question before we go to the next example. Why do you think Dominguez played bishop d7 and not a5? Why did black play? Oh, you think so? Why did black play bishop d7 and not a5? To go b5? You think so, really? To trade rooks, maybe, but he might not be able to trade rooks. b5 to isolate. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. To me, it was very surprising. I understand that he's still in trouble after a5, but it seems like more manageable like that. Yeah. Maybe some kind of like stereotypical thinking that bishop d7 and bring the knight to d6, as Bob Fischer is saying. Anyway, please notice what I was saying from the very first time now. This idea is time sensitive now. This idea with fixing pawns. Either we do it or they do it. Okay, we have a new user, NL 200, yeah, something. Okay, welcome, NL. Let's take our next example. I wanted to show you two more examples. Hopefully I can make it. Let's come back to Dominguez, but in a much better context, all right? Dominguez is playing black again, but we have a completely different story now. So with no further ado, let's see if you can guess how he continued here. I will only ask you for one move, right? What do you think the great Lenier Dominguez played here with the black pieces? Remember our topic, by the way, guys, before you go for some other topic. Okay, happy pawn, and Brian, you got it. Congratulations. Think a little about the trades also. We are back to who should stay and who should go. Like, who wants to trade queens? Or who would like to trade rooks in this position? What do you think? Yugoslavian and tricky and dumb and grilled, you also got it. So think a little about that, like, right? Who should stay and who should go logic. No, never wrong to ask oneself, right? During the game. So who is favored by trading queens? Who would like to trade queens? I think so, yeah. It depends on which square, of course, but in general, white is happy to trade off the queens. In that case, you could say white's king is slightly more shaky, no? And you have the queen and knight team. Exactly, hollow blade. Knight and queen is better than bishop and queen. Usually we think that, at least. So definitely, black would be happy to kick the queens on. White would love to trade the queens. And what about the rooks then? What do you think? Yeah, for the same principle, you would say probably black is happy to trade them off. Also, that would make it a little easier to maybe invade or something. So anyway, having said that, some of you wanted to play queen c3, and I think I looked at this move also a little. Yeah, so if I can take, and since the queens are gone, anyone, what would white play in this position now that the queens are have left the board? Of course, tricky. We will play king f2. I think black is in some slight danger here, right? And also, I mean, I have an idea like f4 and bishop c4 and try to take the pawn. So this is not a good business for black. It's not a decisive pass pawn, not at all. So interesting idea. It's like tempting move, right? Queen c3, very tempting. Maybe if the rooks were off the board, right? If you imagine that somehow we managed to trade the rooks. I made like a little trick here only, yeah, like here and now. If I get to like the same position, you could play queen c3. You see what I mean, right? Here maybe it would be a good move because you would make it to queen perhaps, like knight e4 and c2, if you see what I mean, right? But it's not the same thing when the rooks are on. yeah, this variation it was just a way to get this endgame. Now I took away the rook from the board. So anyway, let's come to Brian. Please show us, Brian, what should black play in this position? So what you can see here is that we can fix pawns also in more, you would say, middle game positions. No, this one is, you could maybe say it's an endgame, but it still keeps some kind of middle game features, I would say. So this is an excellent move. We don't really fix the pawn on f3, but if I play f4, Brian, the price I have to pay here, of course, is that now the pawns are split, and suddenly the pawn on f4 is weak. So we can attack it, right? We can attack it. So if I play f5, for instance, we have already managed to get a stronghold for our knight. Aha, you can maybe play e5 later. That's a fantastic knight. Something like that happened later in the game. I could try something like e5, Ryan, but now maybe we can change our plans, right? What do you think, Ryan? We can change our plans a little. Oh, you want to play for an attack? Okay. I was actually thinking about the move that some of you were saying. Now I like it a little more because this is a target for us. But I agree. You could also play king h8 and bring the rook and attack white and so on. That's another possibility, yeah. So in any case, he played g5 here, Dominguez, in this game against Mamedjaro. Yeah, what happened next? Mamedjaro played queen e3, and he could have played knight g6, but in the game he played rook c8. Yeah, we can check very quickly what happened. f4, he took and he played knight g6. We talked about this already. If e5, queen c3, even better now that we can take with the rook, right, and so on. Yeah, can you stop that spamming, those of you who are, I don't know what you're doing, some kind of weird signs. Yeah, at least I'm too old for that, and let's focus on the chessboard instead. So f5 was played. He had a few different good moves here. Knight f4, hollow blade, he didn't play it, but it was perfectly possible. He took first. And anyone, what would you think? Oh, queen f4, but then you're contradicting what we talked about, Rohan. This is like religion to me. Keep the queen on when your opponent has a weaker king. I would take here hollow, and I would play bishop c4. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I mean, it's not like you must not do it now, but this is not so clear, and white's king can start. Black's maybe worse. Yeah, this kind of weakness, I know that sometimes if I can kick away the knight, or I can bring my rook, this is a weakness now. In the queen's gambit accepted, you get this kind of pawn structure. So please, no queen trade now. Stay religious to that idea. If your opponent has a weaker king, try to keep the queens on. So now he played like that. And anyone, evaluation, what do you think? You had a queen's gambit yesterday. Interesting, Steve. What do you think the computer thinks about this? No, it was almost equal. Almost equal. Aha. But hard to play for white, right? Yeah, strange now. Anyone, what do you think the computer said in this position? What should white play? White had a good move here, but it requires some calculation. I hate this game. Oh, I'm sorry about that. King f1, I think he played like that in the game, or he played something like that. King f1. Yeah, I don't even know what would happen if he played like that. I can't play like, can I play queen c6 and queen takes and queen check and king e2? Oh, no, there is bishop e6 maybe. Yeah, I have no idea. I will probably just play rook j8 now. Hope that eventually I can do something now. It says equal for everything, yeah, but you have to calculate like a computer. f6, I guess I play rook g8 and I play for an attack. Looks scary from here. I don't know. Can I play like, I'm really into this move all the time, queen c6. Can I play that here? Like if you take, I check you and I mate you, no? Or no? Rook d2, bishop d5. Wow, that's surprising move. Okay, I'm old and tired. I will just take this pawn and claim that I'm better, no? So anyway, looks like white is in some trouble. The computer said the hopelessly difficult move. Bishop takes f7. Yeah. Good luck if you can play like that in the game. But this is what he should have played. Something like that. And it all ends with a draw because of rook d7 or something like that. Yeah, black will play rook d7, I guess, but we can't win. So in any case, this is what you should have played. But, you know, chess is a practical game and our opponents make mistakes. We're not playing with chess engines now. So Mamedyarov played queen f3, and yeah. Anyone? What do you think happened next here? Anyone? Google. That's right. Rook g8, not the most difficult move in the game. King h1. But now he played a nice move here. Yeah, I'll quiz you for the next move. It's not really connected to our topic now. There is a saying, pawns helping pieces. Pawns helping pieces. What do you know about that idea? Pawns helping pieces. Yeah, almost by elimination, you know which move I'm asking for, right? So now, meanwhile, 10 seconds left, you can think about what it's good for. Why did he play that move? Aha. Everyone got this move. You didn't have so many pawn moves to choose from, I suppose. So, yeah. Yeah, knight h3, I think I can probably take, and I don't get mated, if I'm not mistaken. Tricky, what did you play here? Let's check with Tricky Windmill. What was your move here? Aha, so that's a very sneaky move, h5. There is a point to this. If I play, for instance, rook d4, Tricky, challenging your knight on f4. Aha, rook g4, very nice. And if I go h3, I'm just creating problems for myself. Exactly, yeah. I couldn't see that move, but you're right, of course. That's a very smart tactic with a fork in the end. And those of us who cannot see these tactics, we could maybe consider rook h4. But okay, maybe then there is bishop f1. So I'll go with Tricky's move. Knight takes h3 is very pretty. Aha. You need to go. No problem, Cesar. It has been a pleasure, and see you next time then. And if I go h3 instead here, what would you play, Tricky? We would love to play h4, of course, fixing pawns, but maybe then they can go rook d4. So queen e5 is a good move also. Yeah, what did he play in the game? I think he played that a little later. He played rook g5. This was also convincing move to take this pawn. And yeah, in the end, he didn't take it. Yeah, what happens if you take it, anyone? Bad idea, right? Yeah, exactly. Don't hang your pieces. He saw that, of course. Knight g2. Some kind of tactic coming up here. Rook g3, I think, is a threat also. Yeah, this is how the game continued. And in the end, he got his team with knight and queen and knight. And it was actually very difficult for white to defend this. This is like, yeah, anyone, what do you think about the evaluation here? No, not at all. This time you're wrong, Santos. This was already, like -1 or something. This was difficult to defend. If you don't believe me, Mamedyarov lost this position in 2 moves. It's tactics also, right? Queen c6 or queen b7 is a big threat here. Yeah, he played queen g1, not a good sign. And after Black's last move, he resigned. What was the last move in the game? Queen c6 check. King h2, I suppose. That he saw, Mamedyarov, for sure. Queen d7. We're trading off the queens. Interesting. Happy Pawn and Pop Fisher. You have played like the great Dominguez. Also, awesome Owen found it. Aha. Interesting. Some of you wanted to trade off the queens. But didn't we talk about this already, that it might not be winning? Or maybe now it's a different story. Like if I put the pawn here and I... By the way, your knight is not feeling like homesick on f4? Or why would you trade the queens? Well, how does Black not lose, I wanted to say. I think you have self-trapped your knight here, or no? So please don't do that. Think a little about carefully. I have a question. Is Black's king is in danger? Anyone? Is it which king is weaker here? You would play queen g7 if you think that Black's king is weaker. A little, yeah. Good point. There is some little danger, but basically, what this king would like to do is to move on. We will ask Owen. Owen, please go ahead. What was your move here? I thought that was a very classy move. Like by coincidence, he keeps everything protected, and he just says to Mamedyarov, "All right, be my guest. You can start checking me if you like." But I think he can actually walk all the way to h4. I think the king is safe there. And speaking of safe king, there are some threats also, right? We're about to mate them basically, or something like that. So that's what he played in the game. And actually, Mamedyarov resigned after queen e5. I guess also you can just take the pawn if you want next turn. So I thought that was a nice move, queen e5. You could, of course, check also queen b7, some of you were saying. I suppose king h2 would come in that case. Right? Anyway, not clear. Maybe it's not the best move, but if it forced your opponent's resignation, it's probably good, right? So anyway, all I wanted you to see in this example was the first move here. I'll show you very quickly, and I'll now go to the last example. With this one, we finish today's work. I think this is the last example. Yeah, we don't need any more, right? No, we don't need any more. This is the last one. So good work by John Sam and Sarthak and Hollow Blade and Rohan and Goldfish and Owen and Steve Alapat and so on. Sarthak, you didn't say anything today, so I think this is a good moment to invite you. So please remember this move, G5, before